Well, it finally happened. We managed to take our locals in Mount Airy at first place playing Dark Magician. So here we are. This is the first place locals Dark Magician deck profile by Michael Boyd. Part of the Dark Magician journey. So we have one goal down on our journey, and that was to take home first place at our locals Paradise Games. So now we need to at least try to make it into top 8 at a large scale tournament as well. So this is good though. This is a very big step in the right direction. I have a couple other builds I want to test out after this deck. But when the time rolls around for me to go to the large tournament, hopefully at Easy Card Games in Greensboro, here in a couple weeks, they're going to be playing for a few boxes on top of some trophies for first, second, and third. That's hopefully going to be our big tournament we go to compete in. More than likely, we will just play this exact same build because so far in all of my testing, this has been the best build that I've ever played. Most consistent, most powerful, had a very good flow to it. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Here, we'll start with the main deck. If you watched last week's episode, you already know the story behind the destroyed Boyd Field Center. We did rock that yet again this week. We're not going to go super in-depth on a lot of the explanations for things that are obvious. Magician's Souls is the bread and butter of your entire deck. Summons Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, as well as sends them to graveyard, and can allow you to draw cards, link this guy away into Link Rebo if you ever play against Dinosaur, help get rid of the Lost World tokens. That is it for Souls. Definitely mandatory 3 of. We play 2 Magician, we cut our monster count down to be able to play more trap cards in this build. So 2 is all you ever need. You can easily banish 1 for something like Magicalized and just recycle this one. You just have to play very smart with 2, and the third one will never really hinder you by not having it. So just try your best not to play into IDP if you can. That's about it on playing 2. I don't really miss 3 for this build. We play 2 bricks, Dark Magician Girl, and Red Eyes Black Dragon. These are our engine requirements. This also allows us to get an extra draw off of our Soul Servant, as well as use the secondary effect of the Dark Magicians. There is a card I worked into this deck to make drawing these not quite so bad, so we'll go over that here in a little while. We have 3 Magician's Rod. Obviously, I think this is probably one of the best cards in the deck. This card, in my opinion, might even be better than Souls for this deck because of the recurring effect of this card. A lot of players that I watch online forget to use the graveyard effect of this card, or they're just not playing this card in tangent with Artemis, which you definitely should be playing. If you're not, this card is how you win most of your games because you can outgrind your opponent because this is an endless resource always coming back to your hand to be able to search and dig, and with Soul Servant you can get stuff back from your graveyard. This card is amazing. Definitely 3 of. Alright, last creature. We still only play 1 Ecclesia. This is all you really need in my opinion. Nadir Servant recycles this card. Sometimes it stinks you draw this card with Nadir Servant, but at that point you just normal summon it, go ahead and go get your punishment, and carry on about your turn. Then you save the Nadir for the next turn, because more than likely they're going to kill this. Nadir Servant. This card is crazy for this deck. We'll go over the extra deck last. But there's a couple things in the extra deck that this card just helps so much. One of which is the Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, which you already know, being able to set up Soul Servant and Magicalized Fusion. This card was easily the best card for spells. We play 3 Soul Servant. That's not different from last time. And we still only play 2 Circles. Never once did I ever wish that I had a third. And even going forward in my other decks, I think I might stick this number at 2, because the third one most of the time is dead. It's normally discard fodder for Dragoon or for Souls late game. I think 2, honestly, is the perfect number. I know that there's the theory that you want to try and see this card opening hand every time, but you have this card on top of Magician's Rod, Soul Servant, all these cards that can specifically get you to this card. So I think 2 has actually worked out well, especially considering I haven't been drawing this card dead nearly as much lately. One of Secrets of Dark Magic. Went a long time without ever using this card in my deck because I thought this card was a -2, and it technically still is, but the fact that you can do this in the battle phase, or that you can link your Dark Magician into Imduk on their turn, Eternal Soul it back, circle, banish a card, and go into Dragoon off of this card is just magnificent. Magicalized Fusion, so we can make our second copy of Dragoon late game, or the Dark Magician's late game. Red Eyes Fusion, because we have to play it. I mean, this is the deck that Dragoon basically pioneers. This is the Dragoon deck itself, so Dark Magician's not a brick in this deck. It is just such a power buff for this deck. As long as it's legal, we'll play it. One of the cards I swapped in was, I did play one Called by the Grave. I actually dropped the Shaddoll package from this deck to play this card. This card, it's just Called by the Grave. There's not a lot to say about it. One thing I really liked about this card was drawing this with Trap Trick. Basically gives you the ability to activate Trap Trick first for a trap, and then you can still use Call by the Grave because it doesn't lock you out of spells. So this card was just as good as you would think that it was. This hit Ash a few times. Hit a Lancea one time. That was a main deck Lancea. But going into your traps, I still play 3 Trap Trick. This was still magnificent. I wouldn't change it. 3 Ice Dragon's Prison, 3 Dogmatika Punishment, 3 Torrential Tribute. These are all our targets for our Trap Trick on top of the ones that we play in our side deck. Wouldn't change the numbers on this at all. A lot of times you can side out one of these for another card whenever you're going in, because you still, even if you side these out, you're still playing multiple copies because you're still playing 3 Trap Trick. So a lot of times I can side out one of each of those to put in my sideboard cards. Wrapping things off with the main deck, we have 2 Eternal Souls. I was a big believer in 3 of this card for a long time. Actually, part of me has wanted to start testing 1 of this card, because once you have this card, you have access to it. You don't really ever lose unless it gets Cosmic Cycloned, which doesn't really come up that often. But for now, we're going to stick with 2. Keep testing 2. Last card in our main deck is 3 Solemn Strike. One of the better traps I also played all day yesterday. This card hits so many things, turns off so many things going second. I will keep playing this card in my deck. I'm actually going to go over the sideboard first, then we'll go over the extra deck. We'll save these for last. These I want to explain. 3 Evenly Matched. These never really came in yesterday at locals, unfortunately. Never really played against anything I really needed these for. 3 Lanceas. This card was very good against Fluffle. The only reason why we didn't die against Fry for Fusion was Lancea. Highly recommend Lancea. 1 Duster. I believed in Dark Magic Attack for a long time over this card, but the fact of that is, like, you never get the dream of being able to use Eternal Soul to actually get Dark Magic Attack, because normally you're having to use Eternal Soul for Dark Magician to be able to fight through their board. So we just played Duster for back row. And Witch's Strike wasn't quite as clutch this week as it was last week. Never really even put it in against anything. Didn't play against anything that really put up Omni Negates going first, so didn't really even need this guy. Going into the last few cards of our sideboard, the single-handed best card in my side deck all day long, Waking the Dragon. You get Lightning Stormed, you get Dustered. You either have this or you Trap Trick into this, and then you get either Last Warrior or Ultimate Falcon, which we are still playing. And this was amazing. This card will always be in this side deck for this deck as long as I play it. This card was 10 out of 10. Along with this card, shout outs to Ryan O'Rourke, aka Ruggles, for this one, and also Jesse Cotton. Point of the Red Lotus, this card was magnificent as well. Yet another out to cards such as Lightning Storm, Harpies Feather Duster, Evenly Matched, anything like that. This card reads, you pay 2,000 life, reveal your entire hand, look at your opponent's hand, banish 1 card from your opponent's hand until the end of your opponent's next turn. So, this card was magnificent. You can also Trap Trick into this card. And for that reason alone, I might end up going down to just playing 2, because it was a little cloggy in some situations drawing multiples. Our extra deck was compiled of 1 Linkuriboh. If you're playing at a locals where you don't really have Dinosaur, you don't really need this card. That's the only reason that you play this. Like, you just link your souls into this so you have this to help get rid of the Lost World token. Link Spider. Kind of gotten to where Link Spider doesn't really come up quite as much as it used to anymore, because normally I'm always going into Imduk, but I still keep him around because sometimes you do need to go Imduk and Link Spider with your 2 Dark Magicians. So, speak of the devil, Imduk. I don't know why more people don't use this card in their Dark Magician decks. It does everything that you need a good card to do. It links away your Dark Magician. It's a dragon. Helps make Dragoon. Magnificent card. Artemis, if you're not playing this, if you don't believe in playing Link monsters, at least do me one solid and play at least this card, please. You need this card to get rid of your Rod turn 1. There is no better card. If you only play one Link monster, please play Artemis. Verte for Dragoon. And Ferrijit, shoutouts to Pack for this one. This was a great idea. Being able to send this card off of Nadir Servant to be able to grab your Ecclesia, send back your Red Eyes Fusion, your Dark Magician Girl, or your Red Eyes Black Dragon into deck to draw an additional card is great. So this came up nearly every time I had Nadir Servant. And when it didn't, I usually sent this guy to be able to put Dark Magician in my graveyard. Never really make this guy that much. 2 Dragoon. 2 doesn't really come up a lot, but you need to play it because you do play Magicalized Fusion. So if you ever need to go that route and need a second one late game, you need to be playing 2. 2 Intis, basically, obviously, for our Dogmatika engine. 1 Dark Magicians. Normally I always play 2. This time we only played 1. He does come up often, but not really ever the second one. Mysterian the Dragon Crown. I play this guy to help unbrick my hands if I draw like any kind of awkward hands, Dark Magician Girl or Rod or anything like that, to be able to help get rid of those cards. He hasn't come up yet. I've never actually made this guy yet. So if you use him with Secrets of Dark Magic, you kind of have to use Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl. So if you ever draw Dark Magician Girl plus like Rod plus Red Eyes, you can get Secrets and make this guy. It's better than making Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight. So if he doesn't come up in the future, we'll probably just take him out. Ultimate Falcon, Last Warrior. These are just obviously for waking the dragon. So quick rundown of the tournament. Round 1 we play against Fluffles. We end up taking that match 2-1. Going into our round 2 we play against Plunder Patrol. We end up taking the match against Plunder Patrol 2-0. And then going into our round 3 we end up playing against our good friend Justin Perkins. If you haven't already, take a moment to check out his Phantom Knight deck profile on here. Very good player. This week he was actually piloting Zoo Tri-Brigade. Ended up taking that match 2-1. And in the finals we play against our friend BJ, who was playing Heroes, which is probably the most intense match of the entire day. However, we did end up taking home that game